Hi, everyone.
Hey, guys, how are you?
Thank you for joining us. I'm Dwayne's in Lexington. Nice to have you here. If you have any questions throughout the presentation, please feel free to use the chat feature. And both Stu and I will be monitoring those, and we'll answer those questions as they come in as appropriate. And also at the end, there will be a time for questions. So otherwise, we are here proudly representing the Kentucky Small Business Development Center, and we're going to chat all things marketing. So I am going to go ahead and pull up your slide, if that's okay with you, Stu.
Go right ahead.
And we'll just get started, y'all. Thanks for being here.
All right, awesome. Hey, here we go. Well, guys, Drive and Thrive Marketing ROI for Small Business. Really excited to do this program, particularly get to partner with this on JC today. We're going to split our time up. I'm going to go over the key, what I consider with every business, whether startup or somebody that's been in business for several years, established business. The four key startups are first four key points for driving your ROI of your marketing. So we're going to go through these, and some of you that may have seen a couple of weeks ago our Smart Start series, this is going to be kind of familiar to you. But again, these things are the four key things that are going to be your takeaways to get things going for your business. So, so if you have any questions about it during the presentation, please chime in, and we'll take it from there. All right. First, we'll tell you a little bit about our organization. This is the first plug we've got for our sponsors and for the folks who make all this possible. Kentucky Small Business Development Center has assisted the Commonwealth small business community for more than 35 years. Statewide service centers and the staff, the staff we have and the skill sets that we have in place are phenomenal. I mean, we've got subject matter experts in a full range of areas, and we just have probably the best, I'm a little bit biased, JC, but I think probably about one of the best rosters of talent that we've probably ever had. KSBDC is sponsored by the U.S. Small Business Administration and administered by the University of Kentucky in partnership with regional universities, community private colleges, and private sector entities as well. Thanks to those folks for making all this possible and allowing us to be able to share our expertise with you to help you grow and move your business forward. All right, so today, let's talk about the main points. First thing we're going to talk about today is the critical difference between advertising and marketing. Second, how to use the marketing equation to your advantage. Third, the importance of strategy before tactics. Fourth is your audience, targeting your audience, and the 80-20 rule, the Pareto principle. We're going to talk about those four key things. And then the fifth thing, how we tie all this together and how it works to increase your marketing ROI. All right, well, let's begin with talking about advertising and marketing. Being an old newspaper guy, an old media guy from way back, I didn't understand this. But advertising is what builds top of mind awareness for your product or service. Marketing is what ends up in your bank account. Big difference between the two. It's one of the biggest misconceptions. So we're going to walk through that so you can have as a takeaway today, understanding the difference between the two and how that impacts your business. Two different models, advertising and marketing. Advertising is all about interruption and repetition. When I was in media all these years, how do we make our money? By getting you to buy more of the same thing and schedule it repetitively. That's how we make our money. The process is very tactical, and the result is top of mind awareness. Where on the marketing side, the marketing equation, excuse me, of interrupt, engage, educate, offer is key. There is not a buying transaction that happens without those four things taking place. The process is strategic versus tactical, and the result is an action versus top of mind awareness. Big difference between those two. Now, as an example, in my newspaper days, all my ad reps would they would handle an engagement this way. First question is, how soon do you want to schedule your ad? Second question is, when can we get the content? Third question is, do you want to buy more at a discount? Do you want to run more next week at half price? Because again, it all comes back to repetition. Marketing's different. Marketing, my first question, if you come in and you want to do something, buy an ad or do some sort of a placement to promote your product, my first question is why? What do you want the outcome to be? The next question is, who's your audience? And the last question is, what is the desired result? Now, again, on the advertising model, since it's based on repetition and top of mind, you're not concerned about any of those things. You just want to be able to get it in there, put it together, get it out, and schedule a lot of it, because again, that's where we make our money. That's where most media makes the money. And that's kind of the gauntlet that you have to run through to make that happen. So the big difference between the two models. The key thing about the marketing model is the marketing equation. This is the big thing. This is the one takeaway on all the marketing pieces that you put together that I'd love for you to be able to take with you today. The equation is interrupt, engage, educate, and offer. And then that will equal results. The interrupt is about the easiest way to explain it is we've all had this experience. And I'm just tell you a short story. A friend of mine had just bought a brand new Jeep. I always wanted a Jeep Wrangler. And it was a really pretty copper color that was very popular a few years back. And it was awesome. I said, I have not seen that. That's really cool. I like that a lot. That's really neat. And it was just, I thought, a very, very nice color. Driving back up I-75 from Tennessee, I saw 6 of those things on the road coming back to Lexington. After I get back to Lexington, I drive to Kroger. I'm cutting back across the Liberty Road, and I see 2 more on the way home. That created an interrupt. How you create an interrupt, how you stop that moment in time in that our brains are running this radio station that's 24/7, 365, and you're always thinking about something. The interrupt is what breaks that autopilot to attentive. Now, his Jeep all of a sudden became relevant to me. It created an interrupt because I had not seen that before. I never wanted to pay attention to it before. I had no need to pay attention to it before. But now all of a sudden it was relevant to me. It was important. So every time I saw one, my brain said, hey, look at that. That's something we need. That's something that was familiar. You know a guy that has that. And it was just amazing to me, the example that provided of how this little thing in the back of our brain called the reticular activator is the filtering system that breaks apart the things that aren't important to us to the things that are. If that filter lets the things through that are relevant and important to us, that is what gets your marketing, your advertising seen. And how to do that, there's a science to that. And we're more than happy to help you work through that, to help you make your marketing and your advertising more impactful. And it's all about creating the interrupt for your the customers that you're trying to attract. Once you do the interrupt, the next step is the engage. That's when that customer list or prospective customer gives you a few seconds to be able to explain why. Why are you relevant? Why is this important to me? I'm giving you my attention, make it worth my time. So you have a short amount of time to be able to do that. And then once they've engaged, they're giving you the time. The next step is educate. This is the why list of doing business with you. Well, if you're interested in this, if you've interrupted or a piece that we've done has interrupted you and you're stopping, you're looking and reading and listening, we're telling you why it's important to do this now, and more importantly, why it's important to do this with us, why it's more important to make this purchase with us. And the last piece of that is the offer. I can tell you how many times I've seen people put together a marketing piece, an advertising piece, and it never has a call to action. If you don't have a call to action, if you don't have an offer, you're basically handing somebody a business card. Here I am. This is what I do. Crickets chirping. Always end with an offer. Always have a value add. If you do discounts, do a discount. If you do want to do a special offer for purchase today or purchase this week, or it's National so-and-so week, then make a call to action to where you actually get to test the interrupt and test the relevancy of what you've got. So marketing equation is key. Again, no transaction happens without these things taking place. And learning how to manipulate that and how to work that into your marketing is critical to being having your marketing be a success. So I think that's a really big takeaway today. And again, our office, the SBDC, can help you make this part of your marketing program, of your marketing plan, and help you design around that. Because one of the first things that I'll do with people when they bring me a tactical ad or a tactical piece that they're going to use to advertise their product, my first question to them is, what's the interrupt? Where's the engage? Where are you educating? Where's the offer? Once you include those 4 pieces, then you've got something. And I've seen it fundamentally change so many businesses' marketing approach when they look at it that way. Whenever you do something, ask those questions. Okay, again, just to kind of wrap that up, advertising is not marketing. Remember the difference in those. And that advertising is the tactical things you do. We're going to talk about strategy and tactics in a few minutes, but those are the tactical things you do to gain top of mind awareness. And marketing is everything you do to increase the actual sales and revenue. It is what puts money in your bank. So remember, top of mind helps, but it doesn't always bring that cash register. It's very, very important. One of the examples that I use in the old days, when you're standing in front of a group of people in a room, I would ask, how many of you folks have heard of Pizza Hut? And every hand in the room would go up. And then I would ask, well, how many of you folks, that's your favorite pizza? How many folks' favorite pizza is Pizza Hut? 2 or 3 hands out of 30 would go up. So there's a big difference to me between top of mind awareness, which is achieved, and the marketing side is how do you increase the number of hands in that room? How do you increase the relevancy of it? So that's our goal, and that's what we'll start working on with the clients, Interrupt and Engage. Now let's talk about strategy and tactics. A lot of times the tacticals, the ads that we talk about, is what drives the strategy. It's a tactic as a standalone, and that is the exact opposite way from doing it the way you need to be doing it. Strategy is how and when you will reach your destination based on your why. And I love to talk about in terms of game of chess. Love a chessboard. Not everybody plays, but most people have a basic understanding of what chess is like, so or how it works. So the strategy is the game, how you approach the game, and how you play within the confines of that board, within the rules and the competition. That kind of sets the parameters of the game. So let me back up here a second. Well, we seem to have lost a couple of the slides here. Ryan, if you could.
Hey, Stu, if you don't mind Stu, if you don't mind, go ahead and leave the room and then come back like we did previously. I think you've lost connection.
Okay.
Hi, all. It's JC. We will be back shortly with Stu, and then after Stu is done, I will be talking the social media piece of this presentation. So stay tuned. And also for those asking, the presentation, a replay will be made available to you today. It comes out a few hours after we finish up. Additionally, there are some files that will be made available or may already be available to you that have both notes from Stu and also some notes from me in regards to social media tactics. So it looks like Stu just re-entered the room.
And let's see where we are. And if we can go, and there we are. All right. Thanks, Ryan. All right. Now, again, picking up where we were talking about strategy and the chessboard. Your business plan is a great example of your strategy. Your business plan basically is a manifestation of your strategy, where you want to be, how you're going to get there, what's going to happen, and it actually is the piece that provides the roadmap to your goals. So I love the quote from by the Cheshire Cat in Lewis Carroll's Alice in Wonderland that says, well, if you don't know where you're going, any road will get you there. That's very, very true. Your business plan is what maps your strategy and what points you in the right direction for your business. So let's talk a little bit about tactics now. If the chessboard and the game itself, the overall strategy and the way you're moving around the board and play against the competitor is the strategy piece, then the tactics are the actual pieces on the board. In your business, your tactic could be a brochure, it could be a print ad, it could be a broadcast spot, it could be a website, it could be a social media posting. Each tactical piece has got a certain way that it moves, and it plays a certain role in the game and has a certain role in fulfilling your strategy. So that's a really good way to look at the difference between strategy and tactics. Strategy is the board and the way of looking at the game and how you approach the competition. And your tactical pieces are how you use to achieve your objective by moving those different pieces in different ways around the board. So it's a great way, I think a great way and a great parallel to look at how to understand tactics and strategy. Now, very, very important points to remember in this regard. Strategies always determines what tactics you use. Strategy is the real game, not the pieces, not the tactical pieces. And a tactic, using a tactic because it's on sale, it's cheap, it's available, doesn't mean it's going to improve your marketing ROI. I see people do this all the time. People say, well, my sales are lagging a little bit, so I need to buy some advertising. And a salesperson will come in, or they'll see an opportunity that will come up, and they're going to buy something. And it's like, well, great, I'm doing marketing. No, you're not doing marketing. You're barely advertising at that point because you've thrown strategy out the window. Knowing a strategy and knowing your tactical pieces to use to make that strategy happen is key to figuring out what you're going to buy, what you're going to invest in, what role it's going to play, and knowing what your return on it is going to be versus things that do not play a role, that are not going to be productive for you. And maybe you're just buying it because it's cheap and available and present at that time. That's no way to be effective, and it's a very good way to lose a lot of money very quickly. Okay, let's talk about the 80-20 rule a little bit. This is one of the first things that I talk with new clients, marketing clients about, is identifying your 80-20. The Pareto principle is centuries old, and has been proven to be effective time and time again. And I have never really seen this with any client not be effective. Basically, the rule says that 20% of any activity is statistically going to bring 80% of the value. So that basically means that for instance, a company, you could say that 80% of revenues will come from 20% of the customers. For a lot of businesses, you can say that 80% of sales come from 20% of their products. I've seen this work with mom and pop companies to international companies. JC may be familiar with Elmwood Teas in Danville. I actually went through this process with them, and they were amazed to see how relevant this was to what they did internationally and how it impacted their business. That's very, very, very important. So when you find the 80-20 rule, where it applies, you're going to have something to drill deep into. You're going to have something that's going to be very impactful, because this is the business that's keeping your doors open. Whenever you can find 20% of your services that's bringing in 80% of your revenue, do not neglect that. Do not neglect that. Drill into that and keep that humming, keep that engine running, because you can always play with sidebar things and new projects and new projects and new products, but keep those things in front of you that's keeping your doors open, and pay attention to those. I see that happen a lot of times. People will neglect this. Once you find what your 80-20 is, nurture that, grow it, and make sure and solidify those relationships. So everything we've talked about today comes down to these 4 points that I really advise you to take to heart. One is market, just don't advertise. Advertise done correctly can be marketing, but just putting your name out there, hey, I've got this product for sale because I have a lot of them and I need to sell them, that's not marketing. Use the marketing equation using Interrupt, Engage, Educate, Offer, and that will equal results. Remember that strategy always drives your tactics, not vice versa. Do not let the availability and a good price and a good rate on a billboard or on a special ad package of any type, don't let that drive your strategy. Your strategy will always point to what tools you need in your tactical toolbox to increase your marketing ROI and get that return. And also on the 80-20 rule, use that to target your customers. Once you know what that very valuable loyal promoter base is of your 20% that's bringing in most of your revenues, you've got something. You've got something to work on. You've got something to really dig into. And then you can explore from there. But the first thing, it's all about increasing your ROI to be able to give you some flexibility. So I think one thing that we kind of add at the end of this is we had to hit this all kind of fast today, splitting up the program like we did. But I think the key point for you is those of us of your SBDC office can help you do all these things. You know, if you get the importance of it and you have a strong interest and a commitment to wanting to increase the ROI and the things that you're doing, do more of what works, less of what don't, we can help you do that. And JC, what he's going to talk about today, I kind of did a broad brush approach of 4 principles that you need to have to increase your ROI. A lot of what JC is going to talk about today is going to be how to do exactly that with your social media and with your digital marketing. And so I guess I'm just going to hand that over to JC right on time. A few seconds to spare.
Thank you, Stu. Again, hi, everyone. My name is JC Phelps, and we are going to be talking now about social media marketing. When this opportunity was presented to both Stu and myself to do the Wednesday webinar here, I was really excited because so many people do all of these topics as as separate entities, but they're all very interconnected. And if you're not approaching your social media marketing with the tactics that Stu brought up in mind, they're not going to be as effective as they could be. Thus, you're going to find a lot of crossover in some of the points, but it's going to be addressed in a more specific way. So this is my name and my email address. I always want to give that to you all. I would love to help you with any social media needs that you may have for your small business. Please shoot me an email at jc.phelps, Phelps, @uky.edu. And I am also part of the London Center of the SBDC. Stu is in the Lexington office, but we are an interconnected statewide network. So we all work together. So please feel free to reach out. So a lot of people that have been in business for a long time and maybe have done the same things over and over, they may ask me the question, why social media? Why should I, use social media, leverage it in my business? And, first you have to understand what social media is. It's exactly what the title suggests. It's social. It's the use of marketing and platforms to connect your audience, to build your brand, to increase your sales, and to drive your website traffic. And it does just that. Social media is an ever-growing industry, 3.5 billion users currently. And if you're looking at who your target customer is and you're thinking, is this relevant for me? I would argue that it's relevant across all age ranges. Almost 91% of millennials are on social media, 77.5% of Gen X's, and 48.2% of baby boomers. So while that is a decreased percentage, that's still nearly half, which is significant. And for those that use social media, they spend an average of 3 hours per day. The only reason I'm saying all of these things is just kind of to frame the situation. It's very, very pertinent. And if you're like me, I'll confess on myself, I spend far, far more than 3 hours a day on social media. First, I wanted to talk about some insider best practices. There will be a handout that Ryan will make available for everyone that will talk about some of these best practices and also as they apply to a couple networks. But to give you some context, social media has essentially been my life. I'm very proud to be a business coach here at the Kentucky Small Business Development Center, but my entire career has also largely been based in social media. And I am what someone would call a content creator professionally, both locally, state level, national, and with international campaigns. So these are some of the best practices that I have learned over an over 10-year career in blogging. I've certainly made some mistakes and I've made some good choices, and I hope you all can learn from both of them and make it easier for you. So starting off, visual strong content is necessary to grow amidst competition online. I say this because photos and video are more engaging than just words. Second off, there are 3.5 billion users online and social media, as I said. So putting it out there and just hoping that it is there and it's going to work for you is not enough. You do have to be very strong and methodical in how you create your content to step above your competition. Going onto that with video, video is kind of what we're calling the supreme form of content creation. It is harder to get into, I would say. It has a slight barrier to entry in that it's a little bit harder than just posting a photo. That said, if you're able to do this in your small business, you'll find statistically it has the highest engagement, which means the highest amount of people that are seeing, liking, commenting, reacting, and following up on your call to action. 3, this is maybe my favorite one. Social media allows you to locate your customer, and that's easier than ever before. It's not necessary anymore to spend thousands and thousands of dollars to pinpoint who you hope or where you hope your target market will be. The internet, for better or for worse, knows so much information about us, a plethora, and marketers are able to use that for essentially little to nothing And that's because social media networks want us to advertise on there. So you can target people in the correct, whether it be gender, economic status, location, interest point. I mean, you can be as specific as, I want to target my restaurant deal this week to someone that likes horse racing, and maybe you're serving a hot brown for Derby week. That's very possible with social media. Fourth, social media is the fastest and least expensive way to spread the word about your business. And the reason I say this is it's both word of mouth and it's digital marketing. If you have been, and that's one-on-one is what I mean by that. So if you are putting out content for someone and they see your post, you're marketing directly to them. But how often have we been online and taken a screenshot and saying, oh, you know, have you seen this top from this local boutique? Or have you tried this dish at this restaurant? And you text it to your friends. That's also word of mouth via phone. And so it really does have a domino effect. 5, and Stu talked about this, social media should amplify a call to action for your small business. Putting out content that's visual and strong is necessary, but it's also not enough. If you're just showing a photo of I'll say a delicious burger, I'll probably give a lot of food examples today because that's the space that I work in. So you post a burger and it looks delicious, but you don't tell your customer that you're located on Shelbyville Road in Louisville, that it's available from 4 to 10 p.m., and that it's $8 today. They won't necessarily act on it. They'll think that looks good, but they don't know how to cross the entry point, surpass the barrier to entry into the market. So being very specific in your call to action, visiting my website, come see me in person, things of that nature is so important. And going back to advertising budgets, if you have been in a coaching session with me, or if you have, or if you will be in the future, and I hope you will be, you will hear me say this: social media is free to be on, but it's cheap to be good at. It's very, very important if you are able to have the budget to allocate a small amount of money to your social media marketing, and I can show you how to run ads and run boosted posts and to spend that efficiently. But seriously, if you have $1,000 or if you have $10 goes a long way if you use it correctly. So don't let the amount of your budget intimidate you from entering. Before we go forth, I do want to say, please feel free to bring questions into the comments. I am watching the chat, so please feel free to do that. I'm very interactive and would be happy to address your individual questions or concerns. So moving forward, I want to talk about how to use social media as a small business. And it's kind of a nightmare to try to do this in a few minutes. I could talk about this for hours, but I have tried to condense it down for you all. Before you talk about, let's use Facebook, let's use Instagram, I think it's so important to audit or assess where you are. That's my #1 tip, to stop and evaluate. So first, I would ask, what are your goals, your objectives? And more importantly, are you reaching them? You can tell that by if you're posting content, are people coming in and saying they saw your post on Facebook? Are people finding out about Facebook? Things of that nature. #2, what's the state of your branding? And is it consistent across platforms? Maybe you have a tagline. Maybe you have the best burger in the bluegrass, BBB. And are you saying that across all networks? Do you have a logo for your restaurant that's consistent across networks? Do you, start or end your posts the same way? I always say, hey, y'all, in all my posts, because I think it's Southern and it's welcoming. We all have our own personal branding, and each small business needs to hone in on that and to use it across all platforms. #3, and maybe this is one of my favorites too. I think on the last slide, it was #3 as well. What's your competition doing? One of the beautiful parts about social media is that it's public. And while that also means people can watch what you're doing, it's a very advantageous tactic for small business owners to say, I know my competitors are XYZ, and maybe they are just really doing well on social media. go to their pages and see what works. You don't certainly want to copy them, but it's your own business and it will be unique. And so please feel free to use those tactics and adapt them for your own business model, because they are probably doing it already for you. So don't miss out on that opportunity. Number 4, what posts receive the highest engagement on your page? We can talk all day that video is best, photos are best, but maybe your audience is, different. Maybe they're unique. And because of that, it's important to monitor each of your pages and to adapt accordingly. For example, if you are a restaurant and people love and you see the most likes and comments on your daily specials, post your daily specials. If you get the most engagement by posting photos of people that are dining in your restaurant or in your boutique, post photos. So listen to what your audience wants, because they will tell you from their likes and comments. And last, and this is what we're going to hone in on in the last part of this presentation, what networks are best for your business and or your target market? The main social media networks come off the top of my head: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Pinterest, YouTube, and now TikTok. We can talk about all of them. If you're familiar with TikTok, I can't tell you how to master the dances that everyone is using in their small businesses, but I can talk to you about tactics with all of those. With that said, I decided it would be best today to discuss 2 of the most commonly used platforms for small business. And you'll notice that one of them is not YouTube. YouTube is the second most visited site on the web. I'm choosing to talk about that because video is very complicated, and I'm not so sure that it would be, even though it's a huge market, the market for every small business to take to. It is relevant for some, but because of that, I will chat about Facebook and Instagram with you all. So these stats come from Hootsuite, and so how I'm going to do these 2 networks, I'm going to tell you why or how you should be using Facebook. And then I'm going to give you the tactical steps that you can implement that I have learned over the years. So Facebook is very relevant. I would guess that all of us mostly are on it, and on it too much, if it's the same case as me. Facebook has more than 2.45 billion monthly active users. That's not just users, those are ones that are active. Facebook is the 3rd most visited website, only topped by Google and YouTube. Very powerful. 71% of American adults use Facebook, and 74% of high-income earners use Facebook, which is important as a small business because discretionary income is necessary for spending and for the garnering of revenue. So you always want to go where there is some money. 90 million small businesses utilize Facebook consistently. 87.1% of United States marketers invest in Facebook. And this is my favorite stat, my favorite statistic here. They're getting better about helping us small business owners because the average price or spend of Facebook ads is decreasing while the impressions are increasing. And I love that. That means that they're getting better at sending it to the right people, so your money is being used correctly. Facebook's also very strong for small business, I would argue, because it has a lot of features. You can post static content like photos. That's what that means, the status. Video content. Facebook groups, maybe that's very advantageous for boutiques and clothing sellers, for example. You can do Facebook Lives, which I would highly encourage you to do. People love seeing faces, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. You can now integrate with your e-commerce on Facebook, and that's a very fast-growing facet. And there's so much more. So these are all great reasons to use Facebook, but here are just a few best practices. And I apologize that these are a little text heavy. These are on the handout that are available to you all. But I did want to make sure with this limited time, we had the biggest bang for our buck, rather. So first, again, take advantage of Facebook videos and focus on photo-centric content, not just text. So instead of telling someone, we have new fall arrivals, or it's Derby week, come have a mint julep at our bar. show them what they're going to get, because if they see it and they know it's your actual photo or your actual what you're dishing up or what you're selling, they're going to be more inclined to come actually visit and to patronize your business. Second, I really want to hone in on this too. Be human. On our personal pages, we are more personal, and there is a heightened level of professionalism that is necessary on business accounts. With that said, it's important to be face forward. People react better to content that is more relatable, that features people, features human features like hands, like say you're holding a drink or someone in your boutique is showing your clothing. So the more that you can make your business, human and personify it, the more people will relate to what your content is. Unlike my explanations maybe on a few of these, keep your posts short and succinct. A great assumption in digital marketing is that people are lazy. And I hate saying that, but hear me out. If you can get the same message to them in 4 lines that you can in 9, send it in 4, because it's erroneous to assume that they are going to devote all, however many minutes of their time to read your full message. So get your message to them creatively, but also succinctly. 4, know your target audience, and it can change network by network. You may say, I'm a restaurant that caters to young professionals downtown. Maybe that's the case, and maybe that's the case on Instagram, but maybe your Facebook audience actually leans a little bit older. So by knowing that and being cognizant of that, you can market on each platform, in your own respective way. In terms of using the platforms, you want to post frequently, you want to post consistently, and at optimal times. Now, this is not 5 or 6 times a day, but what is ever feasible for your business? Maybe it's 1 time a day. Make sure you post 1 time a day. And by looking at your analytics, and again, I can, if we work together at the SBDC, I can show you how to analyze those. It will say, most people in your audience are online at 2 p.m. So maybe you post your special Monday through Saturday at 2, because more people are going to see it then. You want to engage with your customers. If they send you a message, respond. If they comment, say thank you. If they, give time to engage with you, engage back with them, because they'll think, wow, this person cares enough to respond to me. Again, that increases brand loyalty and also increased patronage. Leverage Facebook ads and boosted posts. This is where you spend money to be on Facebook, but Facebook directly puts your product and whatever you're choosing to market in front of the people you want to see it. It's a very, very powerful tool. And we talk for hours just on that. 8, create your content specifically for Facebook opposed to merely reposting. So it's tempting to have a post and want to put it on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and to an extent, there's a convertibility. With that said, it is important to create content that is meant for each. For example, Twitter has shorter characters, so you can't type as much on there. Instagram is even more visual than Facebook, so even more photos are preferred. Going forward, have all business information clear and easy to find for your customers. If you go to your Facebook, you should have either your web address or your in-person address, your phone number, your hours. All of this information makes it easy for people to come see you and come spend money with you. And I can't tell you how often I go to a business page and I think, I wonder what their phone number is. And maybe that means I have to then open up a tab in Google, and maybe I won't. Maybe I'll just stay in the app and patronize someone else. So make sure you have all your info there. Use your profile photo and your cover photo as a branding opportunity. A great way to do that is to use your logo and to also show what your business looks like on the outside. So it could be of your exterior, whatever you choose, but take advantage of those and make them visually appealing. And again, monitor your convo. So, excuse me, your competition, not your conversation. Speaking of convo, before I talk about Instagram, I'm going to hop over. I see a question. Danielle asked, what are your thoughts on posting a hybrid photo or infograph? In other words, a product pic with an info overlay, happy hour today, 5 to 7, wings free, on Insta and Facebook. To pull out the key info that you've buried in the post, or you only have so many characters? And should this be reserved for Insta and Facebook stories? So stories are posts that expire after 24 hours, if you're not familiar. Danielle, to that, I would say, as a marketer's preference, I think it's best to post content that is just photo driven. And the reason I say that is when we put so much text and graphics and all of this on our photos, it kind of distracts from the main topic or the main subject of the photo. If your comment or your caption is succinct and short, they will still see it. I think oftentimes it leads to be a little bit more unprofessional, and it also looks more businessy. And again, we want to be human. So instead of just throwing all this info at them, I recommend using your traditional photo and then hitting them with the info down below. It looks a lot more clean. It looks more aesthetically pleasing. And social media networks at their core are aesthetic driven. She also asked, can I elaborate on the proper use of stories versus feed? Absolutely. Feed posts are something that you want to be static, that stay there over 24 hours. There should be more thought in what you post in your feed. They should be more professional. They should be, of a higher quality necessarily than stories. Stories, which you can do on both Facebook and Instagram, and actually now Pinterest, is a great way to be casual and conversational with your followers and with those that are interested in business. You don't have to worry about the photo quality as much. You can add those words and those graphics, but I see those as kind of a behind the scenes look at what you're doing. So if you're posting a cupcake for your business and the static, beautiful photo of it would be on the feed, but maybe behind the scenes you show how you make the cupcakes or what goes into it, or you're telling a story behind it. That increases the way that your audience can connect to you and your brand. Let's see. Margaret asked, can I attach my customer list to my Facebook account? I have a personal and a business. Most people look at the personal. How can I get them to look at the business? That is a great question. And a lot of people do rely on their personal accounts for business. You cannot use ad revenue from a personal account. It has to, ad spend. It has to be from a business account. So I definitely recommend using the business more. And since you have more engagement, as it seems, on your personal page, what I would do is always post first from your business page and share it to your personal page. If they then interact on your personal page, that can't be helped, but at least they're seeing it originally from the business page itself. Also, in your copy or your caption, the text, you could say, I'm just going to assume your business name is Margaret, say your first name. Be sure to follow @Margaret's, tag it on your personal page, and encourage them to go over. You can also invite your people on your personal page to like your business page from your business page itself, and that's a great way to build that following of your friends. So those are my tips there. Proper use of hashtags on Insta and Facebook. That is coming on Instagram, Facebook. Hashtags are not the most important. If you have a branded hashtag, use it, that's fine, but focus on hashtags on Instagram. And Jessica asked, how many times a week do you recommend a business post so that we don't feel spammy? And what are the optimal times? Some people say 1 to 2. I've seen 2 to 3. I think a time a day is really great. I definitely probably wouldn't go over 2. If you're getting 3, maybe it's just a really wild day and you have something, a lot to say, but consistently, I think a time a day is great. What's more important, Jessica, I would argue, is to know what's feasible and what can be consistent for your business. So if you can only post once a day, to make sure that you do that, but don't pressure yourself to post more than that. As for your optimal times, there are industry standards, but it's actually best to look at your own analytics. So from your Facebook page or your Instagram page, you can go into your settings and your analytics, and it will show you at what times your customers are on your page and also interacting with your content. So for me in my pages, it might be 3 p.m. For you, it might be 8 a.m. So definitely go in and look at those. They are free to use and they are very, very advantageous. And Linda asked, I hope that helped, Jessica. Linda asked, Do you recommend posting dollar amounts on Facebook or Instagram photos? Personally, I do. And the reason why, I tend to encourage a business to take away all barriers to entry into their personal market. So if you post a delicious burger and you say, I must be really wanting a burger, y'all, I'm talking burgers a lot, and you say $8, I in my head might think, wow, that's an amazing deal, and that looks great, I'm gonna go. If you don't post and you get to the restaurant and it's $18, I think, wow, that's kind of steep. And so it kind of took me by surprise, which may hurt, my return rate to your restaurant. The only business model that I would argue that this isn't overly relevant with is a super high dollar amount. So if you are a premium business and say you're doing things that are of a high dollar value, sometimes those can be better said, more casually, so you don't, scare people away from your prices. But as long as you're in the fair market price range, I say post to make people aware. So pivoting to Instagram, 1 billion people use Instagram every month. I won't read all of these numbers, but as you can see, it does lean a little bit younger. So that's important to realize. If your target market is young, Instagram is very important. The gender mix is actually pretty even, which I actually found surprising. But of course, it is slightly female leaning. 200 million Instagram users visit at least one business profile daily, which is very, very telling. And 3/4 of US businesses are going to use Instagram this year. So if I'm, as a business owner myself, I see that and I think, by George, I want to use Instagram too. So there's some encouragement and motivation. So a few Instagram best practices, and then I will get through these quick, and then I'll open up for questions for both Stu and myself, and I'm happy to answer anything that y'all might have. First, and we talked about this, understand the difference between Instagram stories and Instagram static posts. Again, static posts are what you post to your feed. They're static, they don't change. Stories are casual, they're conversational, and they do expire after 24 hours. So it's a behind the scenes look in your business. It's really fun to use those. Maybe you have new arrivals and you want to hop on your story and show what's coming to the shop. Something of that nature. Use number 2, and I could talk about this for an entire presentation. So happy to hone in on later, or if we work together, but use hashtags and geographic tags to find potential and target customers. The beautiful part about Instagram is so many people use locational tags, and locational tags on Instagram are searchable. Same with hashtags. So for example, if you are in Louisville and you are a boutique in Norton Commons, maybe you want to advertise to people that live on the east end of Louisville. So you could search Prospect, Kentucky. You could search Middletown, Kentucky, St. Matthews, Kentucky, Norton Commons, Kentucky, and you're going to see photos from all the people that have publicly tagged there. I call this geographical targeting. And so what I would do as a business owner is say, if they're active in these areas, they're probably going to want to visit my business too. So what you could do is engage, meaning, like their photos, comment on their photos, follow them, and that pings your business name to them. It takes a little time to do that, but it is really, really a genius move. Building up on that, utilizing hashtags to build the impressions. Hashtags are search mechanisms, and impressions are how many people see your post. On Instagram, you can use up to 30 hashtags per post. I certainly don't think you have to use 30. It is important to use different hashtags every time because Instagram will see a bunch of the same hashtags as spammy. With that said, by using the related hashtags, you will increase the amount of people that see your post because they're searching for them. A great one might be Shop Local KY. If you are hashtag Shop Local KY, if you are a local business here in the state. Dwayne said, I found using words related to my business and hashtags has got me more views. Is this correct? Absolutely. Hashtags are just a way to prolong or to perpetuate your content and to get it in front of more eyes. So it's a great free way to get more eyes on your post, Dwayne. Again, kind of like Facebook, to have all your info, you want to have an effective bio, a unique selling proposition, USP. That might be, again, best burgers in the bluegrass, something like that. A chic boutique in Bowling Green, Kentucky, things of that nature. Your address, your website, your hours, all of that. Have that in your bio so people can find that really easily. Influencer marketing. This is the industry that I am in and have been in for several years now. With that said, it's a very relevant one, and I'm doing an entire webinar on it on September 10th. Stay tuned to our Kentucky SBDC social media pages to register for that. And I'm super excited to talk about that. It's the first time as a network we have discussed it. So I will tell you all the insider tips and tricks there. So join me next Thursday. Number 6, again, focus on those high quality original images. Stock photos don't do very well for your business. And also it's important to be visually engaging. Again, have a call to action saying visit my website, etc. And that's because in your Instagram caption, there's no direct linking. On Facebook, you can put a URL and click it. Instagram, you cannot. So you have to direct them, saying maybe link in my bio or your about section. That's a great way to do that. And I apologize, I'm running through these fast. I want to make sure we can do a few questions. Maintain your brand voice, be consistent there. Again, you want to post consistently and frequently as it applies to your business. You want to engage with your customers. You want to create your content just like Facebook, specifically for Instagram. And again, you want to monitor your competition because you can see what they're doing and implement it for your own. Quick plug, social media networks are ideal for amplifying your existing web page. Websites are great because we own them. And so I think of the website as kind of the top of the triangle, and Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Pinterest, all of these feed to your website, whether it be a blog or an e-commerce store. So don't ignore having your own website too. It's the hub of your online presence, and social media is a path to get there. So I do want to open it up for questions, although I see I have a few. So I will go ahead and address those. And please also send questions for Stu. The 80-20 rule is a really great one, y'all. That's a great one to implement in your business. So Stephanie says, or asks rather, does it make a difference if hashtags are in the post or in the comments? That is a great question. She's referring to on Instagram, you can put your hashtags in your main caption, or you can comment them down below. Here's my recommendation, both. Your main hashtags, say you have a branded hashtag, say your business is called Stephanie's Boutique. I'm just making something up. In your comment, hashtag Stephanie's Boutique. But if you're going to use up to 30 hashtags to increase your impressions, put those in the comments. And here's why. 1, it gives you engagement. It shows that you have a comment, and engagement does count even from your own account. 2, it's a lot cleaner, and it makes your caption shorter. People, if they're reading your caption, they don't particularly care about your hashtags, but people that are finding your posts care about the hashtags. It works the same if it's in the caption or the comment section, but it looks so much cleaner and aesthetically pleasing if you put it in the comments. So for your massive hashtag drop, put it down below in the comment section, definitely. Kendall is in Rising Sun, Indiana, and she wants to know, how can you be sure your hashtag is original and not being used by another organization? Is there a way to register a hashtag like a domain website if you're a destination that has the same name as another? Great question. So you can, of course, trademark names. With that said, hashtags are public domain, and there's a win and a loss here. How to tell if a hashtag is an original, or if you want to create an original one, is to search the hashtag on Instagram and see how many posts there are. So if you see multiple posts with it and they aren't yours, you'll know that they're being used by another organization. So if that is the case, maybe think of another one if you want one to be specific for your business. With that said, it's also good to use larger hashtags. For example, Shop Local Kentucky, you're in Indiana. I'm sure there's a hashtag Shop Local Indiana, because You want to use hashtags also that a lot of people search and are using and utilize, because that's going to be a bigger potential audience to see. So it's kind of a hybrid there. I think it's great to have your own hashtag, but you also want to use high traffic hashtags. And let's see, is the way to register a hashtag like a domain site? Unfortunately, not. Again, you could trademark probably a specific phrase, maybe if it's super unique, or maybe even your business name. I'm not overly familiar with trademarking, so I don't want to speak too much on it. With that said, it's not overly feasible. Let's see. Cody asks, Lisa's himself, howdy. Cody asks, when trying to reach business owners, should I spend most of my time on LinkedIn, or will I get good returns with other platforms too? Definitely both. I almost included LinkedIn in this presentation. LinkedIn is a very important social media platform. So if you say offer coaching services, or you offer classes, whatever it might be, if you're trying to reach business owners in your own business, LinkedIn is a great platform to do that. With that said, Facebook and Instagram is too. I would argue to use all three, and you'll find that you'll have a high return, and maybe even different markets you're tapping into across platforms. Danielle wants to know thoughts on Insta and Facebook handle. What are the best practices? The shorter the handle, the better. If it's super specific, or if your business name is long, I understand that. And I think that's an exception to the rule. The main rule of thumb is you want to have a handle that is consistent across all platforms. So if your business name, for example, me, I write about food, I'm JCP Eats online. I want it to be JCP Eats on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all of them, YouTube. Just make sure it's consistent. That's more important than the length, but the longer it is, the higher probability of chance of someone spelling it. And that's the issue you'll run into there. Thank you all for the super kind words. Stu and I both appreciate them. And Stu, it was so awesome getting to do this with you.
Yeah, this was fun. Hey, JC, I want to add, because kind of being the strategy tactical guy, you mentioned this earlier, and I'd just like to repeat that. Don't neglect your analytics. See what you put out there. Check and see what resonates with your audience. A lot of times it might not be what you think it is. So please go back, check the response rates, see what's working. And again, under the umbrella of do more of what works, less of what don't. That can really guide you. I have a lot of folks that have a struggle with coming up with content, but it makes it so much easier when you're very responsive to what's resonating with your audience. And I think you touched on that in several places, but it's still up to you as the person putting it out there to be responsive and kind of put out their stuff that works.
Absolutely. That's one of the best parts of the platforms, is that it aggregates all this data and analyzes it for you. You just got to click the button. And sometimes it is a little finicky if you haven't searched for that before as to where you can find this information. If that's the case, it will be in the presentation on that slide. I'm going to drop my email again into the chat box. I just sent that to you also. If you are on Facebook, if you're on Instagram, and you just cannot find your analytics, please let me know, and I'll be happy to either chat with you about it on the phone. I can send you screenshots on email. I'm happy to help you always. That's what we're here for at the Kentucky Small Business Development Center. So please feel free to reach out. And there's Stuart's email too. Stu, why don't you take Kevin's question?
B2B. I think that we talked a little bit about the LinkedIn earlier, and like I said, it just about made JC's top 40. And I think B2B really needs probably could do with its own webinar, really. I think, again, a lot of it for me comes back to what's your outcome. It's all about outcomes. What do you want that to be? What do you want to get from other businesses? If you're selling your product to other businesses versus consumers, or commercial consumers, then what you really want to be able to figure out what exactly they need, and then set up communications about how are they getting it, what are their what's lacking in the way that they're getting their delivery right now. Is it price? Is it serviceability? Find out their weak point, create that conversation, but you need to be conversational. JC kind of alluded to this earlier about being conversational. Listen, like the old saying goes, the good Lord gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. So, listen to what they're telling you. And usually what I've always found and I think particularly in B2B relationships, they will tell you what's missing. I've actually had customers in my past pay a little more and drive a little further and to be able to get some very simple things.
Yep.
So ask what they've got, what their satisfaction level is, and then where you could intercede. And that's true across the board, whether it's online or doing the email campaigns, anything at all. Make that contact, create that handshake, and then listen.
I couldn't agree with that more. Whether it's B2B or B2C, whatever it might be, especially in business transactions with other businesses, it's so important to market your value add.
Yeah.
And
Brian Tracy's got a great saying. I love it. It says, telling is not selling. So basically, shut up. Ask questions. Find out what their story is. Don't don't tell them what it is that you have and why you're there and what you hope you can do for them. Ask questions, be conversational, and they will tell you what they need. And that's, again, not just business, that's pretty much across the board, but it's all about that handshake and having a conversation.
any other questions before we end up today? Again, I want to thank you all for joining us. We are here to serve you at the KSBDC for services through our partnerships provided at no cost to you. So no matter where you are in the state or no matter what your needs are in your small business, whether you're wanting to start one or you're wanting to pivot your own and to hone in on some things, we have someone that will be excited and very experienced in working with you. So please reach out to us. This is why we do what we do.
Exactly.
Thank you all so much for joining. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you. Be successful.